Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Antero Graham. I'm doing this video as part of our assignment based on my proposal for this course and for future research. Um, this is for Applied Education Research, EDUF 7116. So I'm going to go over my proposal, my questioning, some background and based on why I'm looking in this direction. I'm looking at a qualitative phenological proposal. I want to understand some things. What I'm focusing on is exploring an educational leader's loss of influence to lead change and improve performance. Excuse me. So often I've noticed, and let me give you a little bit of backdrop. Um, I came out of the technology space in IT for over 25 years. Been in education 10 years, and for the past 3 years, served as an assistant principal at a middle school here in Metro Atlanta. And I've noticed not only organizational change and leadership change in corporate America, but I'm now starting to observe it as well within the context of the educational space. And so my research is really to peel um, things together to say, how do I prepare, or what kind of things can I come up to as I'm looking at potentially going into leadership now in the educational space? How do I get prepared? How to prepare myself for that step to influence change? How has others done it? And so hopefully during this proposal I'm asking some questions to kind of glean that from my participants through the study. So again, I'm looking at a qualitative phenological study proposal to understand the loss of influence, because again, I see principals move into a building um, and garner no influence whatsoever and are then moved or relocated out of that building within a short period of time. In my particular case, the building I'm in, prior to the principal that's there now who brought me in, previously, the 6 years previous to that, they've had 4 leadership changes. And so I got to understand, what happened, what was the reason, one, there, as well as looking up at district level and understanding what expectations were set and that was not met. As I look at the proposal, um, I came up with some research questions. Again, trying to understand. Back in the days in corporate America, it was all based on the numbers. Well, guess what? In education now, it's based on the numbers. The numbers back then was sales performance or operational performance. Here in education, it's the performance of that student. So not only it's not about you anymore or your specific team. It's about your team and their ability to influence change within another group of individuals, which are students. Initially, I have 9 questions, and I'll start through that, and that hopefully will give you some insight of where I'm trying to go with this. But the first one is based on their experience. How would they describe their organization and its culture in their role as an instructional manager? Because again, as we look in CCRPI, we're talking about climate. What's the climate in the building? Is the climate good enough where folks are learning? And that's not only the students, but also the staff. Are they involved? Is PBIS involved in there? Is there some behavior issues that are being addressed? Is the community engaged? That's not only the parents, but also the business community. And then the second question is, based on your experience, what example best describes the interaction with your own leadership team, with other grade level functions when responding to change additions? I've seen, since I've been in education, a lot of leaders are directional leaders. Okay, in other words, we're going in this direction, and there's no choice in the matter. And then I've seen the other sets of managers that says, here's my vision. Now I need your assistance because you are professionals to get that resolved and that solved. So let's come around the table. Let's throw the data on the table. Let's look at data all the way down to the student. Then reverse that and look at the teachers. What kind of support do we need to provide that teacher so that they can support effectively that student? Third question is, based on your experience, how would you describe the perceived value of interfunctional collaboration? In other words, now we're looking at collaborative teams. within our building. Um, because again, in corporate America, when you got teams from different departments working together to solve a problem, you had longevity with regard to that solution. So the same thing is they're looking at here in education. Based on their experience, what factors influence change across? In other words, what they see was one of the reasons why change occurred. How was it resolved? And who was involved in making that change a positive change? Then, based on their experience, how would they describe the image of an educational leader and respect to the organizational departments and before senior management at the district level? How are you presenting yourself as that leader? So far as an AP, they've taught us, we manage pretty much all the operational piece of the building, but what that piece is on how do you next move to the next step as an educational leader in that building, responsible for that building. So what's that secret sauce that leaders must have to be successful? Just like the book, Good to Great. How do you take a good leader in an educational environment and make them great? Is kind of the backdrop as well of what I'm looking for is what secret sauce can be garnered from research that looks at the business community, looks at the educational community, and say, let's find the best of the best techniques and let's package it in a way that the leaders of today, because remember, the leaders of today in the educational space, in an environment now that's truly technologically um, there, where in our district, it's every child from the 3rd grade to the 12th grade has a laptop. Now you have the technology. Can't use that excuse as, well, if I only had technology, that would make a difference. Then you look at instructional strategies. There's tons of instructional strategies out there from some phenomenal writers and researchers that says, here's how you influence change academically in these children. You now look at small group instruction. You look at large group instruction. You look at, again, collaborative planning. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. So you're looking at a lot of different strategies to solve that academic concern, which is academic growth. It says, then follow up, based on your experiences, how do you perceive the image of educational leadership, its influence, and who's possibly facing change conditions to improve their performance? In other words, how do they get better? How do they get better? How do they determine themselves as, I'm a good leader, but I want to be better? Does that mean I go to a whole lot of seminars? Does that mean I have a mentor? Does that mean that I have to find a district that is conducive to my style? What is it? And that's the kind of things I'm looking at in this research. Based on their experiences, what would be the impact of an educational leadership loss of influence? Because again, before, most of the leaderships in building, my dad was a former school principal. He was a history major, and that's an anomaly. It used to be the football coaches that became principals and ran them like a business. They weren't really instructionally sound or astute. But today, that principal must be an instructional coach. That principal must be a technological astute leader. That principal must be a good orator. That principal must be a person that's willing to go into the community and garner partnership and relationships not only with the parents, but with the business community as well. Because again, the school's needing additional support and resources. Based on their experiences, what would be the impact of educational leadership's loss of influence? Implement change to improve performance. Again, because of where we are in the state of Georgia using the CCRPI, again, it's coming down to growth measures. And as I was talking to a couple of my group team leaders, they said, Graham, we don't understand why we're having to go through this. And I said, I think this is great. The school in which I'm serving in right now is a low performer. Has been for years. But as we start peeling the onion back, out of 819 students, 119 of them are kids with disabilities. If we take that equation, just take those 120 kids out, we're now at par with the top school in our community.